Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to askNK. So after a few days of waiting, Blender 5.1 is now in beta, and this simply means that you can simply go ahead and download Blender 5.1 right now and test it out for bugs and see some of the cool features that are coming with it. And of course, for those who like to get this, you can simply go over to blender.org, go all the way to download, go all the way down once that page opens to download Blender Experimental, and right here you'll notice that Blender 5.1 is now in beta. Now this was released on the 6th of February of 2026 as against the 4th of February of 2026 according to the schedule. Up here you'd also notice that we have Blender 5.2 in alpha, and currently Blender 5.2 is going to be an LTS release, which means it will be a long-term support release for anyone that is thinking about using most of the features in Blender 5, 5.1 and subsequent features which will come in 5.2 for long-term usage in terms of production. And this is currently in alpha, but there are no features within any of these given categories, and that can also be confirmed by the timeline that we have here. And for schedule, this is going to be in alpha up until June the 3rd of 2026, when it will become beta. The release candidate will be available on July the 8th of 2026, with the final release being available on July the 14th of 2026. And currently 5.2 has no features and is kind of not available for you to test out anything, but something that is available that you can test out is Blender 5.1. And Blender 5.1 is going to remain in beta until March the 11th of 2026, where we'll be seeing the release candidate. And recently we talked about most of the features coming to Blender 5.1, and just like we mentioned in the previous video, there are some nice new features that are now available with this, and we're simply going to scan through all of those, and potentially we might be seeing even way more features come with the final release. And with that said, let's dive right into Blender 5.1 the beta and take a look at some of these. So with Blender 5.1 the beta open right here, you notice that we have a brand new splash screen. Huge shout out to the folks at Blender Studio for the singularity animation that they're currently working on, as this is shot from the animation. For those who like to find out more about this, you can go over to Blender Studio where you can check this one out and see the whole production workflow and possibly learn a thing or two. Now within the user interface, we do have some good stuff. First off, there's an improved status bar display for various operators. The status bar no longer shows the Z-axis for 2D transform, which is really good. And we have improved status bar display when using an interactive add object tool, which again is also really nice. We've also got the remove status jump text for commonly used operations, and this now simply uses fixed bit number padding that shows extra precision. And just like we have here, if you simply move things around, if we hold down shift and move, you will see it becomes a bit more tightly and precise. Something else which you'd also notice is if you're modeling and you say, for example, you press the tab key, if we have a single face of this cube selected and press I on the keyboard to insert a new face, you notice this is freewheel, but if we hold down shift, we now have much more precise movement overall. This is also visible when you choose to have, say for example, an edge selected and you choose to bevel it. So if you hold down shift, you also have a much more precise movement. But if you like to snap to stuff, if you hold down control, you can now simply snap when you offset the bevel. And speaking about snapping, we also have another interesting snapping option, which you can find right here. So if you simply click all the way up here, you now see that we have face center snapping. This is something that I think a lot of people would love, especially if you're into modeling. So in this case, if you like to snap stuff to the face center of an object, this also works. So I'm simply going to scale this all the way up. Now, for example, if we go in and let's actually just move this around. If I have this turned on and I move this, you would notice it automatically snaps to what it considers as the face center. So this is also something that is pretty cool. The reason why you see it snapping across all of that section is because this is a grid. Now, if we actually go back in, let's go ahead and get rid of that and throw in a simple plane and scale this all the way up. Once we have that turned on, you would also notice that it snaps to the face center. So if you're modeling artist, this snapping feature might come in very handy. And speaking about handy options, let's talk about the quad view. So most people don't know that you can actually initiate a quad view right here in Blender. So to do this is pretty simple. You hold down Ctrl, Alt, and Q on the keyboard, and you have yourself a quad view. Now with this quad view, some things which are now possible with 5.1 the beta is you can now have the center selected and you can use the center to move various parts around. And this is something that is not possible with previous versions of Blender. So this is Blender 5.0. You would notice that we don't have that option here. However, with 5.1 the beta, we have this tiny quality of life improvement which I think might be pretty nice to a lot of users. Another thing which you'd also notice with Blender 5.1, which you would not notice with previous versions of Blender, is in terms of the duplicated overlays, status messages, and gizmo. Like right here, once we're within the front view, you would notice we still have the same gizmo right here. And if we simply move things around, the status bar message is also going to be the same. So unlike what we have with previous versions, we do have this gizmo here, we have that here, we have this here, and we also have that there. And something else which is pretty interesting is if you choose to copy an object without any object selected, you do have a message that simply says no object selected to copy. Unlike previous versions, that simply says copied 0 selected objects. And speaking about copying, you can now copy and paste nodes across various instances of Blender. So with previous versions of Blender, this is not possible, but with version 5.1, this is now something that is super possible. Something else which is getting an update is the tooltip. So in this case, if you simply hover across any part of your scene where tooltip is, the tooltip remains visible until the mouse actually leaves, which is really good. You'd also notice that if you were doing some very cute animation playback, or maybe just scribbling across the timeline, at this point, if you go over to where you have playback, you can now enable subframes, which now shows you the number of the subframes when you're scribbling across your timeline. And while we are still at the timeline, let's actually talk about this nice feature that has to do with interpolation. So if we simply switch to the graph editor and take a look at some of the keyframes that we have here, your keyframes interpolation now has some nice looking colors. So in this case, if you have anyone selected, you go over to key, go over to where you have interpolation, you now see different kinds of colors that actually just tells you what key you're currently looking at. And I think this is a nice visual feedback. Possibly the dynamic one might actually get a different kind of, color, as I'm really happy with the linear and the constant one. And speaking about the graph editor icons have improved vertical centering as well. And if you're working with action slots, the action slot name inputs now properly resize for longer names. There's also better alignment in terms of the icons, and we also have some nice alignments with the color picker, as the color picker no longer overflows its bound when the window is very small. It's also interesting that if you now go over to edit, go over to preference, you can now easily just search for stuff within your preferences. In 5.0, this feature isn't there. However, in 5.1, you do have this feature. So in this case, if you're trying to find stuff that has to do with, let's say, your keyboard, you can find that easily. If you're thinking about finding stuff that has to do with files, so let's just simply type in the word files, all the possible places where you can find things that has to do with files gets highlighted and you can check them out. And so having this search feature is really cool. And the search feature seems to be almost everywhere. And speaking about the preference, there's now support for filtering extensions by repository. And we also have a new update all, which is a convenient button to simply update all of the add-ons that needs update automatically. Previously, we talked about the assets and how you can actually turn on and turn off your assets. So in case there are certain assets you don't want to see, you can turn them on and turn them off in your file path within your preference window. And that is really, really nice, as various assets could be enabled and disabled at will. Another cool thing which is now here is your asset shelf thumbnail preview sizes can now be reduced up to 24 pixels. And if you work with a Mac, right now, you can now also have access to your iCloud drive right within your file browser. And if you work with Windows, you would also notice that once you plug in a USB and you're within your file browser, you would now be able to have access to that as well. So lots of cool features are now available within the user interface when it comes to Blender 5.1, and you can come through and check these ones out for yourself. And with that said, let's talk about some more cool features that are coming over to several parts of Blender, including the video sequence editor. The blade tool now has a box gesture that allows for quick cuts, and this supports rippling. In terms of retiming keys can now be completely hidden with the new retiming icon that shows when the strip has retiming keys on it. And in terms of modifiers, Compositor modifiers can now use the new sequence strip information node. At the same time, the pitch modifier, echo modifier can also be added to sound strip, and the Compositor modifier can now be created together with the Compositor node tree directly within the Compositor. And for Python API, we do have some additional updates that are now here, and for those who work with the video sequence editor, there are several cool and simple updates that are now available when creating with the video sequence editor. And speaking about the Compositor is also having some nice cool stuff. There is the new mask to SDF node that can now compute sign distance field from simple images. Index switch node is now supported. We also have the new sequencer strip information node that's been added. And of course, if you're into review, the radial tiling node is now supported. And 3 additional nodes has also been added, which includes the Boolean, integer, and vector input nodes. Outside these, there's a couple of nice cool changes that are now available, including the viewport change or the workspace change. So the default Compositor workspace now shows an image editor on top of the node editor with the backdrop disabled. And for view region, this was removed and it's not working since version 4.4 and will possibly be reintroduced in the future. And while we're on the topic of node-related stuff, Geometry Nodes is having some updates to the volume grid as the new volume grid system introduced in Blender 5.0 has been extended with a couple new nodes. Now, the majority of these improvements were community contributed, and we're seeing brand new nodes like new cube grid topology node, which allows for creating grids from scratch where all the voxels within a cube are activated. We also have the new dilate and erode node, which simply grows and shrinks the set of active voxels within a grid. The new grid mean and grid median node allows for averaging values in a grid in different ways. The set grid background node now has new options to update the inactive voxel values too. At the same time, we're getting the new clip grid node, which simply deactivates all voxels outside a specific box in index space. The new grid to point node, which also creates a point cloud, which has a point for each active voxel on tile. And at the same time, we are also having some more impressive things like the string to curve, which is also really cool, and the new font socket. So for those who've been thinking about working with fonts, playing with fonts with geometry nodes, then you can now go to town with this one. There are new updates to the bundles and closure stuff as we're getting new bundle item and new store item nodes. And for those who are thinking about, Blender becoming very procedural in terms of animation, we have some good stuff as the new bone information node allows accessing and posing of individual bones. And this is the beginning of procedural rigging inside of Blender. And of course, with this comes a plethora of amazing new nodes that you can now come through and explore when working in Blender. So for those who are into geometry nodes and possibly you're thinking about the cool stuff that might be coming for geometry nodes inside Blender 5.1, all of these are now here. And for Grease Pencil, we have a lot of cool things that are happening with this one. We do have a brand new fill workflow, and this comes with a ton of features and options for stroke, fill, or both of them. Additionally, fills can now have holes, and existing operators and tools are updated to account for holes if necessary. There are new operators that have been added to Grease Pencil fill tool that has to do with select, create, join, and also remove fill. At the same time, if you bring in SVG files, SVG importer can also create holes. And if you're working with both PDF or SVG exporters and possibly you like to export fills with holes, this is also super possible. There is also the new separate fill operator to simply separate strokes with new individual fills. So in terms of working with fills, these now comes with a ton of options that can allow you create holes, join stuff, and also delete fills or strokes independently. Performance for the drawing tool has also been improved when drawing very long strokes. Overall, performance can be felt across various tools that exist with Grease Pencil, and this includes the Sculpting tool and other tools as well. And of course, for those who like to check out this one, you can also come through and see some of the improvements that they have. And the major update here is that the fill tool now has a lot of new operators that you can now have access to in the edit mode. And for modeling and Eevee, we're getting a few updates here. So first off, we already talked about the snapping on face center, which we actually discussed when we talked about the user interface. There's a new corrective flip normal Boolean operation, which is enabled by default and is available within the apply object transform redo panel. There's a few updates that has to do with curves, which includes an improved font filling for 3D text object. So this is what it used to look like before, and this is what you have now. In terms of Boolean is about 35 times faster. And we also demonstrated the snapping feature for precision when you're working with beveling. And that is also a new addition. There is support for adjusting vertex slide settings, which is pretty nice. There's also improvements within the polygon fill performance. The Eevee now has the select tile, which is pretty nice. So if you're working with Eevees, you can now simply use the select tile operator to select an individual tile. And like we mentioned when we talked about the alpha, this doesn't select multiple tiles, when you're working with UDIMs. It only selects one tile at a time. So if you like to read up on this one as well, this is currently available. For motion tracking, we just have one particular feature for motion tracking. There is no feature for physics at this point. For pipeline and IO, USD has an update, FBX has an update, GLTF has an update, and images, we do have some impressive updates for images as well. For OpenEXR, there is a new lossless encoding option, which is the HTJ2K. This simply produces somewhat smaller files rather than other lossless compression method. There is also updates to the video and audio output as well. For Python and API, we have some incredible things happening within Python and API. And of course, if you're into rendering, we also have a few nodes which are now available for rendering, and this includes the raycast node. So in Blender 5.0, we did see the repeat node, and these came in super handy as it actually led to a lot of interesting simulations with textures and so on. And now with the raycast node, we will also be seeing some exciting stuff. All of these examples are actually made with the raycast node for Blender 5.1. I'm going to link these ones in the description just in case you'd like to check the creators. And still speaking about the shader nodes, we have the normal map option to switch between OpenGL and DirectX conversion, which again is also going to be super useful for lots of node heads. We also have the join bundle node, and we've got the vector map node option for element-wise rounding, and color IO was updated to 2.5. For sculpting, painting, and also texture, we already covered this one before. And in this case, there is a dedicated blur brush, which is now found within the sculpting mode. This is pretty nice. When you're making your texture painting, the escape button is now supported. So once you place your brush and you're making a painting, once you press the escape key, this can now undo the previous stroke that you've just done. So a bit of quality of life improvement overall is what we have within the sculpt, paint, and texture. And for virtual reality, we're having a bit of overhaul in terms of functionalities and also teleportation. And possibly, if you're into VR, you notice significant improvement when it has to do with teleportation across your scenes in Blender. There's also the new skill property, and OpenXR support is now available on macOS. We are also having some performance in terms of Vulkan. And Cycles in Blender 5.1 is having a very minimal update. And this is basically for those working with AMD GPUs. There's an improved GPU rendering performance that ranges from 5 to 10%. And for performances, we're also having performance within the animation and rigging section, as we also have some nice performances for animation. So action evaluation thread seems to be really good with 5.1 as against 5.0. And of course, for animation, we have a new operator and the new F-curve modifier has been added. And this is called the Gaussian Smooth. This allows for non-destructive smoothing of F-curves. And for technical reasons, if you're working with this modifier, it has to be the first modifier on your modifier stack. Outside that, for rigging, some updates are there. We also have some updates within the user interface, and we also mentioned this update that has to do with subframes earlier. Shape keys have a new apply to basis operator update, and we have some updates to Python as well. And for those working with Eevee, the very same shader recast node that we talked about earlier is also available for Eevee. Eevee also has some interesting updates as well, as the planar reflection now supports glossy reflection and refraction. The maximum number of ALVs has now been bumped up to 128. Eevee now comes with an added transparency evaluation for shader to RBG node. There's an improvement to the look depth HDRI rotating speed and stability. Support for the light path node inside of the world node tree has been added back, and also the look depth HDRI view space lighting option has also been added back. For material compilation when working with Vulkan, there are some benchmarks here which are looking pretty interesting. And we also have some nice cool updates that has to do with performance and also memory saving. Blender Core has a few updates to it. For the asset, we also have a few updates as well. And most of these updates for assets are also things that we discussed earlier when we talked about the user interface. So this is it. For those who are thinking about exploring Blender 5.1, the beta, you can actually come through and check this out. At the same time, if you're thinking about exploring some more stuff that can help you improve how you get to work with Blender, we also listed a couple of those nice cool add-ons that you would love to work with in the description, so do well to check them out. Tell me what you guys think about this one in the comment section, and of course a huge shout out to the folks at Blender for making this possible. And until I see you guys in the next one, peace.